Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Good Hearted Podcast. Thank you so much for clicking on this episode or this video, however, you're intaking this content. I'm your host, Morgan Anderson, and I kind of just wanted to have a chatty episode today because I feel like I have a lot on my mind, and it's been a minute since I posted a new episode, and I just kind of wanted to get into why that is and what I want to kind of change or do differently in the future so that I don't have content just come to a screeching halt and I can maybe manage expectations a little bit better and just get used to working at home while also being a full-time stay-at-home mom. So I was so proud of myself. Before I had my LASIK procedure done, I was able to sit down and record and edit and create promotional content for several episodes that have already been published. And then even though my LASIK procedure went really well and I didn't have really any issues recovering, it still just kind of made everything else in my life go off the tracks. I don't know about you, but for me, when I stopped doing things that like I normally need to do to keep things flowing, to keep things not chaotic, it just seems so easy for other things to fall off. And I guess what I'm saying is, even though I am not like a super scheduled person, I'm not super organized when it comes to like my routine and things like that, I still have certain things that I always do to keep my momentum going and to keep my house under control and to keep the podcast going and to keep up with laundry and my mental health. And it's like when one thing kind of takes over all of my headspace and time, everything else starts kind of going to shit all around me, if I'm being totally honest. I can be really good at keeping routines and keeping habits in place, but it's like when I stop doing one thing, then I'm like, oh, I don't really need to do that, or oh, that's okay, that will get done eventually, until I am completely overwhelmed and I feel very behind and like I'm never going to be able to breathe again. And so that is kind of what has happened in the last 2 months. I had my LASIK procedure, everything went great, but still I had those days that I normally record podcasts that were just like no longer there because of my actual procedure and then like my checkups and other appointments. Not to mention, I had some things shift with Harper. And so now my schedule is very different than it used to be. And I've actually had a lot of doctor's appointments lately. And so I've had some rough days mentally and emotionally, sometimes because of the doctor's appointments, sometimes it's totally other stuff, but it's been a lot and it's been weighing on me, and I've really had a hard time coming back out of this season of like overwhelm, which has led to like some depressive episodes and some meltdowns and just feeling like I had no control over my life. And I've gotten better at recognizing the signs when something like that is coming or I can feel it. And so I knew what was coming, but I didn't have like the energy and the mental strength to keep myself on track. It was like just so many things were happening. This summer has been crazy for us, crazy busy and family stuff happening, and just lots and lots of stuff, lots of expectations, lots of things to do, lots of things to keep up with. And so it felt like it had all piled on. And I know this happens with everybody, so it's not an excuse. What I want to do is try to implement some things to set me up for success. Because sometimes I just tend to do the same thing over and over and over and over again and expect it to turn out differently than it always has. And so I think I just really needed to be real with myself and sit down and think about like the podcast and what direction I want to take it in and what will light me on fire like it did when I first started it, or like when I had my wedding photography business. And so I think I'm just going to try to make some changes that work with me as a person. I am not a team of people. I don't have steady childcare. My husband works a lot. So I don't have a lot of other things in place that some other people may have. And so I just need to accept that my days as Superwoman is pretty much over. Like now, if I have any energy at the end of the day after hanging out and playing with my toddler, it's time to relax or catch up with my husband. Like, not focus on a side hustle kind of thing. Being a stay at home mom is definitely like my full time job right now. And Harper has gone to only taking one nap a day, and it's usually like an hour. If that, maybe 2 hours if I'm really lucky. And this time last year, she was still taking two-hour naps a day. So I just had so much more free time this time last year. And I have felt like things are so out of my control and so chaotic because my day is kind of run by a toddler, and there is nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying I'm upset about that. I'm saying like I'm having to shift my own expectations and what I can actually physically do in a day. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube and you see my eye twitching, I am so sorry. My eye has been twitching like since Labor Day. And like, I don't know why. It's both eyes. I'm probably stressed, but that's okay. I'm working on that. And so even today, I had to hype myself up for like an hour to sit down and record this episode because I just didn't know what I was going to say to you. I didn't know what to talk about. I have just felt kind of lost lately, and like I'm not sure what I can bring to the table anymore on this podcast because even though I've not been doing it that long, I feel like I've talked about so many things from so many different angles, but sometimes I need to take that step back and take an actual break from creating content to come up with new ideas. And I think that's part of the reason why I end up getting burnt out is because like I've brain dumped everything and I've used lots of energy to like have in-depth episodes with you and to do research and then to spend the time editing and doing additional research. And it's just a lot. And so I think what I'm going to do from now on is have a break, maybe in the summer and over the winter holidays, potentially, just because I need that downtime. I am still figuring out who I am as a mother and as a person these days. And I find when I don't take the time to rest or do something for myself, everything else just gets out of hand and I can't keep up with it. And that's usually an emotional or a mental block for me. And that's for sure. I would never deny that. But if you've been in one of those states of mind, you know how hard it is to pull yourself back out of it. And so I feel like I'm just rambling and I'm so sorry. I am just kind of a mess right now because I'm so not used to recording and I'm feeling intimidated and defeated some days. And so I appreciate if you are listening to this episode and are willing to continue listening. So anyway, I've decided to allow myself to have a break, maybe even shorter episodes, because I feel like sometimes I cover way too broad of a subject and it really needs to be broken into like 2 or 3 smaller bite-sized episodes. And then I'm also really looking forward to doing some more things on YouTube, like vlogging. I used to be obsessed with video cameras like most 90 kids probably were because we got our little handheld camcorders and that was a big deal compared to what our parents or grandparents had, like the big giant thing that looked like a stereo, but it was actually a big video camera. And since I've had Harper, I've thought more about how like she is not going to have those family videos like I had that were like hours of literally just it sitting on the coffee table while the kids ran around and played or something. I try to at least take like a minute long video of her whenever I have my phone out to take a video of her. But a lot of my videos of her are like 15, 20, 30 seconds. And so I just want to be able to one day give her something that has a little bit more of our lives that she can see. But even more than curating those videos for Harper, I need an outlet that is creative and low pressure that I can just try to express myself and document my life in a way that feels good right now. I do not enjoy posting on Instagram anymore or making reels, and I know that is like how you get your name out there, but I just want something that is mine and that can be fun for me and I can learn new things and have something that just I'm in control of and I get to do because I want to do it, not because I have to do it. And so I might end up making some of those types of videos into a podcast episode. I'm not really sure how it's all going to look right now, but I just know that my life is so much different right now than it was when I started the podcast. And I still love it. I still dream about big things for myself and for this podcast and for my future, my family's future. I'm just not sure of my game plan right now. And I've never really been in a place like that. I've always had plan like A through D for like any situation that I had. And I knew what my goal was. I knew what I wanted and I knew exactly how to get it, even if it wasn't the most efficient way or the cheapest way or whatever. I knew what I was willing to give up to have the things that I wanted in life. And since becoming a mom, like it is hard for me to think of anything that is mine, that I do for fun, that I enjoy doing. And so I just am really trying to work on that. And so that means the things that I'm talking about may not interest you in the future. I don't know. I try not to talk about mom stuff a lot on the podcast because I like to think that I am so much more than a mom. But right now, being a stay-at-home mom life is pretty much my whole life right now. I am constantly thinking about meals and games that we can play and teaching my daughter and what activities we can do that are inside or outside to get us being creative or get us moving. Like my whole life revolves around my daughter right now. And I am so happy that I get to stay at home with her. But that just means like that is all that's in my brain all the time. It's really hard for me to switch gears into talking about self-love and self-development when I am learning who I am again. This is like the third version of myself, I feel like. Like if I was a Taylor Swift album, this would be like my third era. And I don't know where the hell I'm going, what I'm doing. All I know is that I want to be healthy and happy. And I'm trying to navigate and figure out how the hell to do that and still be productive and still find a purpose. And so I'm excited to talk about more things that I love on this podcast. I think it will all come back to self-love and being a good person. And it's just going to involve some more of my interests. So I hope some of them align with yours. And I hope that even if they don't at first, maybe you can come along for the ride and see if it's something that would work for you. And so the things that I'm really excited to talk with you about are things like books. I read all the time now. I did not ever love reading. In high school, I read a little bit. That was probably the last time I read a novel and like finished one. And then in my 20s, it was all self-help books if I was reading like a physical book. Well, I guess either way, physical or audio. And last year, I really got into reading fiction again for the first time in so long. And now it is like a great love of mine. I love reading a physical book or a Kindle or just having an audio book going. And so I think at least once a month, I'm going to talk about the books that I did read in the previous month. And then maybe at the end of the year, I'll do some kind of year-end recap of what my favorites were and kind of my takeaways so that you can see if you would be interested in reading a book like that or not. And again, it might not even be every month. Maybe I'll just do quarterly book updates because I don't want that to be like the whole podcast, but some of my books I love so much. I just want to talk to somebody about them. And some of them have taught me so many things. Even last night, I was like crying, finishing my audiobook. And Dylan was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "No, I have lots of thoughts and feelings." And so maybe by talking with you about those, I can process some of those and also help you if that's something that you're struggling with or trying to connect with that piece of yourself that, this book could bring out in you. I think they can be great tools now that I have come to love them and find what works for me and not being afraid to stop reading a book if it's just boring the hell out of me and I can move on. I also love simplifying things. Sometimes this gets me in a little bit of trouble because some things I have simplified so much that I have too much downtime. That's not really been true in the past 2 months. But everything before that, like I kind of have a well-oiled machine when it comes to my routines and the systems in my house that really work well for me. And I would love to help teach you some of those methods as well, because self-love is all about treating yourself better. And one of those ways you can do that is reducing stress and coming up with a system that will work for you. Not just pretty organization that's not going to stay intact, but easy, simple ways to keep your life flowing and not just get stuck all the time and then letting things pile up and get out of hand. And then you have to like go in and fix everything. And the good thing about these simple systems that I have is like, even if I get out of the rhythm of using them, they're still right there when I'm ready to get my ass back in gear and get back to what my normal routines would be. I'm also letting go of shit like whether or not my camera is crooked or you can see my mic or if my nails are painted. Like I was going to take my nail polish off, but I didn't have time. Like I literally for an hour was just sitting in my living room and I was like, you can do this. You can do it. Just go back there. And now, of course, I was also placing a pickup grocery order and ordering a few things on Amazon. Still, I just didn't think to take off my nail polish. And then I sat down to do this and I was like, fuck, I need to go do that. And then I was like, no, just sit down and record. Like just press record, get it done. So you might see me looking way more casual. Like today I have no lashes on. I feel like I am kind of naked without them. But again, I don't have the free time that I used to have. And so I have to use my time wisely. And so I'm also hoping by doing vlog style videos with maybe a voiceover, that is something that would be way easier for me to record, because I won't have to get ready and get all set up and, all of that. So hopefully you're down to like have a more chill vibe in these videos. And then if you're listening to it, I guess it will probably be mostly the same. So you don't have anything to worry about with that. And so I'm probably also going to end up touching on motherhood and traveling and other just little things like that interest me. Maybe even my Amazon must-haves, because Amazon, seriously, even though I want to hate them, they have saved my ass so many times. And so many things that I use in my house have made my life so much easier and in turn made me happy because I had something to solve my problem. And I can also share with you how I decide whether or not a gadget is worth trying on Amazon. And I'm really looking forward to freshening up the Good Hearted podcast and seeing where this goes, because I love it so much and I appreciate you so much. And I just want to keep delivering you content that will be beneficial for you and informative and not shit, basically. Like I'm not just trying to sit here and chit chat about nothing for an hour. And I guess that's one other thing is I might be doing shorter episodes. I may have already said that, but if I didn't, because I guess the whole time I was like, I want this to be bite size. I want it to be a little bit of motivation for you, to just encourage you and tell you that you can do this and remind you of that. And so I'm just trying to figure out how to navigate that and how to execute it the best way for me and for you. So I feel like that was a lot of blabbing about what I'm not sure, but thank you for watching. If you're still here, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in my next one.